Today on The Chef's Cut, we are talking about summertime travel. There are so many underrated food cities out there. How to find great restaurants in any city, no matter where you're going.
If you book at Airbnb, ask your Airbnb host.
And whether or not you should book that food tour. Look for the smaller ones.
That
book take you on an,
worth the money.
Like an off-the-beaten path kind of thing.
The extra money.
But first, Chef's Cut Nation, you know what time it is. We need 10 seconds of your day. Please go in to rate and review the show wherever you get your pods. It really, really helps.
As we roll into this beautiful summer we're having it, I think one of the things we got to talk about is a lot of people travel for the summer, right? Mm-hmm. Chefs included. And so people ask us a lot about like, how do we pick where we eat when we go?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think when we travel professionally, a lot of times, you know, things are set up for us. But when we get our personal time, like when you're traveling just for you, when it's, you know, AG's time off and she's going, once you pick that city, like what do you start looking into of like where you want to stay and how you get into it? Because like obviously we're looking at restaurants, but like how do you begin? Like let's say, you know, I'm like, all right, you know, Steven comes over tomorrow and is like, hey, I booked us a trip. We're going to Stockholm for 5 days.
Right. Which knowing him, that could happen.
Like, where are you starting once you get that information?
Steven is a planner and I am not. I like to kind of walk around a city, but that doesn't always work out because when I'm walking around a city, I'm like, oh my God, this place looks awesome. Or I'll get references or I'll get referrals from talking to people, but then the restaurant's booked. So I've started to become a little bit more of a planner. So once we find out the city, and there are so many underrated food cities out there, domestically, abroad. In the US, I think Philly, it's blown up recently, but for the past 10 years, I've been telling people that Philly is one of the best food cities in the US. It's starting to get that love, and Lisbon also. So we'll start with a city and then say we're there for 7 days. Right. We will book at least 4 meals, maybe 2 lunches, 2 dinners, and we'll kind of leave a few things up to like the walk around because we are walkers.
Hold on. Before you get into that, are we booking a hotel or are we booking an Airbnb?
Okay. If it's just the 2 of us and it's under a week, it's a hotel. If it's over a week, or if we're meeting up with friends or family, then it's going to be an Airbnb. Like I'm here in France, in the south of France for 2 months for work. So I'm at an Airbnb because you don't want to live at a hotel for 2 months. Like you need to be able to cook and have some groceries.
That's different. You know what I mean? So it's because it's interesting to me. It's like I was always an Airbnb person whenever like, you know, when we were younger, when we would go abroad. And I think the funny thing for me now is like now that I have kids, when you have kids, it's like you almost have to do the Airbnb because like a hotel's a nightmare. So if it's just like me and Hill traveling, it's like the hotel now is like we're like when I went to, you know, Paris when I was 30, we're like, oh, it'll be so cool to have like, you know, a little like rented apartment in Paris and we'll feel so Parisian and we'll sit on the balcony and smoke cigarettes and drink wine and you know what I mean? Eat local pastries that I bought. And now it's so turned to like, we're going to leave this room and we're going to come back and it's going to be clean. And that's going to be the coolest thing. The coolest
and I can go downstairs
imagine.
And get a glass of wine, bring it back up to my room. Somebody will make the sheets. Somebody will
and then I'll just
make
leave
the
that
bed,
glass.
change the towels.
I'll leave that glass and it just disappears. I'm not going to put it in a dishwasher. I'm not going to take it out.
I don't want
like,
to think.
It just
that is
goes
the luxury.
Away like magic.
Yes.
Like,
exactly.
So it's like, that's, you know, it's interesting to me. It's like, which I never thought I would be. We've come like now it's like, oh man, like we're not bringing kids. We can get a hotel. All right. So So we're both team hotel right now for this
less than a week. Just me and Steven, hotel all the way. 100%.
All right, now, when Adrienne Cheatham books a hotel, what's she looking for? Do you pick type of hotel first or do you pick area first? find the hotel in the area you want?
Sometimes it starts with the type of hotel because, yes, I'm a rewards person and I love to get my rewards travel. So sometimes it does start with the hotel. But in a lot of cities, it starts with the neighborhood because I do want to be able to walk. I don't want to have to take cabs everywhere.
Right.
And, you know, even internationally, Uber is pretty extensive nowadays. So like even here in the south of France, I can take Ubers. Like it's not a big deal. But I do want to be able to walk to town. On my day off, I want to be able, or if I'm traveling, I have downtime, I want to be able to walk around an area that people who live there frequent.
Yeah.
So I want nothing too touristy, but I like a mix of touristy and local. I like those kind of neighborhoods that offer coffee shops, restaurants, or they come alive at nighttime with wine bars and restaurants. So that's what I'm looking for, is something that I don't have to take a taxi every time I want to go out in the city. I want to be able to find an area that's happening enough that I can have stuff to do near my hotel.
Yeah, I agree. Like I look like I'm very much like the area and then like find the hotel around the area, right? So like in Rome, for instance, I know I love staying around where the Campo Fiore market is, because the Campo Fiore market is very lively in the morning, very lively at night. There's great bakeries around it, cafes, bars, restaurants, right? So, but it's also really centrally located where it's like, you're not far from the other markets, you know what I mean? If you want to walk to those, which when I'm there, that's really important to me. It's not far. You cross the river and you're in Trastevere. You could walk to, you know, pretty much everything, right? And that's what I love when I'm there. I want to walk around a city. I want to look at the buildings and pretend like I know something about architecture, even though I know absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? Just like, oh, is that post-Gothic? I don't know. It could be. But like that for me is like so important, is like the area. And then I'm like, because I'm like, you know, whatever, for a hotel, like, you know, it's like I want a nice enough hotel, but I'm not like a hotel. Like I've traveled with people who are like, they, you know, need the best hotel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need it to be clean.
Right.
And that's about it. Especially like if I'm traveling with, you know, with Hill, it'll be a little bit nicer. But if I'm traveling by myself, I'm like, I don't care.
Right. I don't care as much, as long as it's in a good area. And that's like, so in Paris, because I go to Paris like 4 or 5 times a year for work. And I was staying in different neighborhoods every time. And Joe, I swear I found the perfect
moments.
Arrondissement. Arrondissement.
Excusez-moi.
So I would stay in a different arrondissement every time. And I finally found one that I loved. And it's got my 2 favorite restaurants in Paris. Freddy's, which is like a wine bar, small plates kind of place. And then Mashama Bailey's restaurant in Paris called Rarest is in the same area. It's in Saint-Germain, the 6th. And they're 10 minutes from each other. So I usually stay at a hotel near there because when I get off of work, like I want to be able to walk to a restaurant to grab a glass of wine. Maybe if Mashama's in town, I'll see her and we'll hang out and have a glass of wine. And it's also
that's wild.
A 7-minute walk to the Grande Épicerie, which is the big grocery store that I do a lot of my shopping at. So it's like the perfect location. There's cafes in the morning, there's bakeries, and then it comes alive at night too. So it's got like the best of both worlds. And it's got like 2 different trains that come to that neighborhood. So I can get the train anywhere in the city if I'm staying in the 6th.
Yeah. And I feel like this is like my kind of like low key, like if I don't know like where I begin, because it's like there's so much information about restaurants out there, right? Bars and everything, right? But I feel like I will look up like the best coffee shops in the city, especially when I went to Paris, because like Parisian coffee is not good. It's not. The French, I don't know what they have going on. But, however, before I went there, a friend of mine who had worked in Paris told me, he said, if you want good coffee in Paris, the only place you're going to find it is, he goes, the best coffee shops are all run by Australians. So I Googled Australian coffee shops Paris, and I found a neighborhood where there was 2. I think it was the 19th is where we stayed. And so I was like, well, if these are there, I know I have to be able to walk to coffee.
Right.
Like, that's my favorite thing is like, getting up, going and walking and getting my coffee in the morning wherever I am. Like being able to do that is such a treat for me.
So here's the question. When you are going to a city, whether it's for work or for personal travel, How do you decide what restaurants to go to? Are you looking at the lists that are out there? Are you getting references? Like, what is the Joe method for finding good restaurants when you travel to different cities?
I'd say the first thing I do is if I know anyone in that city, that's my first stop, right? That's my first stop is I'm going to text them and be like, hey, I'm coming out. I want to come see you. Where else should I go? And I feel like if I do that, if it's, you know what I mean, they're going to give me 3 days of stuff. Because I get that question all the time. People send me a text. They'll be like, hey, I'm coming to Chicago. I want to come have, dinner at Rosemary, Carchofa, or Tuto, whatever. They're like, where else do I need to go? And the first question I ask them is, where are you staying?
Ah, yeah.
So once they tell me where they're staying, I'll be like, okay, these are the places you should go. So like first, if I have any sort of contact in that city, I'm going to flush that out first. If I know anyone who lives there, even if it's like a friend of a friend, I'll hit somebody up. Or if like one of our friends, like if, like obviously you don't live in Paris, but like if I was going to Paris right now, I know you've been spending a ton of time in France. I would, be like, hey, like where, let me know what am I missing? What haven't I hit? No, you know what I mean? So like, that's always first for me. Then I'll start like, and it's hard, right? Cause there's so many lists. So it's like, like I'll look a bunch, like Eater has a 38 for it seems like every city under the sun. But it's like those lists are always weird because they're like, they try to be all encompassing. So like they're not, you know what I mean? Because they'll be like, oh, you should go to like Alinea and like Johnny's for a beef. And it's like, that's no one's trip. Like, like that's just not anyone's trip to Chicago. But I think it's like, I'll look at that, look at some things, and then like from that try to like cross-reference it, just like look up articles about those restaurants that
and
like maybe
you'll see a lot
I've
of crossover on those lists too, like the Eater list, the timeout list. There's so much crossover on these different lists that I love to see, because when I see that crossover, I'm like, okay, that's giving me notice that like this restaurant that I keep seeing on different lists, if I've seen it on 5 different lists and there's very little crossover on those lists, then I'm like, okay, I need to put that place on my list of places to visit, either for lunch or for dinner, and it's going to happen. And then like, I love if there's a chef that I've talked to in the city, even if I don't live there, even if I don't know the person personally, if I have a conversation with a chef or a bartender in any city I visit, I always ask the question, where are you going to eat on your day off?
100%.
Where are you eating? That's what I want to know. And that is where I'm 100% going to make a reservation or walk in if I have to.
Right. No, then that's my number one once I'm in a place is like talking to anybody who would talk to me. Even like, the great one too, like if you book at Airbnb, ask your Airbnb host. Like, especially like, when we would travel to Croatia, like, cause Croatia, we were traveling there in like 2017, 2018, 2019, like it was a lot more difficult to make reservations. Most platforms weren't online. So it's like, you needed somebody to call and you needed somebody to call who spoke the language.
Yeah.
So like, I would either have to have my father-in-law call, or I would talk to my Airbnb host and I'd be like, hey, we're staying in, Zagreb for 2 days. Like, where do we need to go? Like, where do you eat? And they'd be like, oh, go to this spot. And they'd be like, oh, it's a friend of mine. I'll call him for you. So it's like, I had some Airbnb people who like, would call and like book me a reservation of like spots. Cause then it was like, it was good for their friends too. I'm like, hey, I have an 8-top, I have an 8-top. We're going to come spend a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Like, where should we go? They're like, oh, go to my dude's spot, go to my friend's spot. She'll, get you guys in and, do it up. So like that one also is like a really good one. It's like, especially if you're traveling internationally, if you have an Airbnb host that's like an actual host who lives in that city, be like, hey, where should I go eat? What should I do? You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna know.
Yeah. Another thing that I love is when I get to a city, like I said, like I'm a huge walker. Steven, 12,000 steps a day. So I love to like walk around a city in the morning when I get a coffee. After that, we'll have a breakfast or get a pastry, and then we'll just walk around for a couple hours and check things out. And we'll make notes on our phone when we see something that looks like it's going to be good. And especially if we see a place that is full of locals, and that can be kind of intimidating, especially when you're in a country where you don't speak the language fluently. It can be really intimidating to say, hey, I want to come and eat here. it's full of locals and I'm going to be the only one who doesn't speak the language or the only outsider eating here. But that's when you know it's good. Or at least it's going to give you a taste of what people in that city really like and what the food is like authentically like. So it may be uncomfortable at first, you know, I'll Google translate like, hey, can we get a table for two? And I've had like a really warm reception at every place I go, especially when you make that effort of learning how to say, hello, do you have room for two people?
Right. I always have like a couple phrases I write down in my book. But I also like when I go places like now it's like I will find a gym when I travel, but I like, my first day there, I'll usually run and I'll try to just like, I'll go out and do, like 2-3 miles and just explore like really early and just kind of cruise around and like see, cause that's like such a great, and I'll be like, oh, look at this place. You know what I mean? It wasn't on my list. Or I'll be like, oh, this place, like, and then you look it up and you're like, oh, yeah, I did read about this place. So it's like my pre-walk around. And then it's like, go to my coffee shop, pick up my coffees. Maybe I found another coffee shop for the next day. Like when I was in Mexico City last year, it's like running through Mexico City and there's, Mexico City has like a million of these tiny coffee places.
Yeah.
And the coffee there is so good. It's such an underrated thing of Mexico City. Like maybe it was just like something that I was just wildly unaware of, that like they were like went so hard in the coffee culture. But
they
was
go
like,
hard on everything. I love Mexico City.
I agree. I think it's like, that is like the number one city I've been to where I'm like, we were on the plane home and we were like, when can we go back? Like you'd run by one and I'm like, oh, I got to come back to this place because it just looks cool. It looks older. It looks new. It looks funky. You know what I mean? I see this little shop, like what's going on? Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like all sweaty, like walking into a grocery store just to like walk around with the other people who are in there at 6:30 in the morning and just being like
I swear by that.
Like, buenos dias. Like,
when I go to a city, like, I'm 100% walking through grocery stores. People think I'm so weird. I'm like, ooh, that's a grocery store.
With the World Cup of all these Europeans coming here, like loading up suitcases of like, like ranch and like all this like American shit to bring back. And people are like, can you believe it? I'm like, that is me everywhere. That is me in Japan. That is me in Italy. Unless you were TSA watching this, then I would never bring anything back in. But, and everywhere I go, it's like, it's like packages on packages of like food and beverage and like any weird thing I can find at a grocery store to like, eat like with my crew when we get back.
And you know what I think is another underrated thing? And it is kind of like, it's kind of cliche. I know, people have weird feelings about it, but those websites, there's one that's called like Get Your Guide that I use when I'm going to different cities. Like in Mexico City, I wanted to tour some of the food markets, but I speak enough Spanish, but I want to know the places in these markets that I have to go. What is the best taqueria? What is the best place for pozole? What is the best place for horchata? What is like, I want to know that. And so there was randomly a guy who's like 19 years old in college, whose father has a taqueria in this market. And it's more of like a market for locals in Mexico City. It's not like one of the big touristy ones. And then there's a market across the street connected that's more of like it's got like some voodoo kind of stalls going on and things. But he said like, I will give you a tour of this market. We had no less than like 20 dishes. And he was like, you don't have to eat everything, eat half of it, eat a third of it. We got some boxes, take them back to your hotel. Don't feel pressured to eat everything because you will be stuffed. We stopped and got a bottle of tequila. We sipped tequila while we're drinking and eating this food. It was like the best experience because we're getting an insider view of the market. So it was like a food tour. It was a food tour, yeah. And it's so cliche. Like, people are like...
It's like, I feel like when you hear those, even say like, because I like see those in Chicago and stuff, and it's, 35 people, and they're like, this is timeout market. You know what I mean? And you're just like, what are you guys doing? Like,
and this was a small tour. It was just me and Steven with the guide. Those are the kind of ones that I look for, where it's a smaller, like more one-on-one kind of thing, where you're getting that like deep knowledge that somebody has of the place.
I will say I did that when I was in Rome in 2017. I went and I booked like one of Katie Parla's private food tours. And
nice.
It's like, if you don't know anyone and you've never been there and you don't speak the language, it's like, dude, it's, 11 out of 10 would recommend, because it was like, took me in all these shops, took me to all these markets. And now it's like when I go, I feel like I'm like, oh, I know the basis. I know, like, I read her stuff constantly to see what's evolving in the Rome scene. But it was like, it was so much, and like just explained so much about the history and like why things are the way they are. And like, I love that. And I think, you know, with like us as chefs, like we get lucky a lot of times. Like we go to cities like, you know, where we have a chef friend waiting for us who will do that. Right. You know what I mean? And the first time I went to St. Louis, Kevin Nash and, you know, James Beard Award winner has been in St. Louis forever. And like the most Midwest thing ever is like, oh, I'll pick you up from the airport. Like picked me up from the airport. I wasn't even cooking with him. I was cooking at a different thing.
Are you serious?
Picks me up from the airport. He's like, we're going to go to Pappy's and get ribs. And like, we walk to Pappy's and it's like, there's a massive line and he walks in the back door because he's Kevin Nashin. And like, we walk in, you know, they're like, oh, we're out of ribs. And then they're like, oh, Kevin, we saved you a rack.
But for him,
and so,
of
like,
course,
me
we
and
got
him,
ribs.
you know what I mean? We sit down and he's talking to me about the history of this place in St. Louis. We go to his restaurant. We go see Gerard Kraft. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I got like a personal St. Louis food tour from one of the greatest chefs in St. Louis. And it's like, so we're spoiled rotten in that we get people who do that for us. You know, I could get off the plane in New York and you'll meet me and we'll go around to 20 places.
Yeah, because I'm never picking you up from the airport, but I'll meet you somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, no, I'm not picking you up in Chicago
But
either. I'll send you the number of someone who will.
But that's the fun thing. Like those guides, like you're right. We are chefs and we frequently know somebody in another city who will give us the scoop on where to go. But if you're not a chef or if you don't know a chef in that city, I think those kind of food tours, especially look for the smaller ones. That
Book the
take
private
you on
ones, worth the money.
like an off the beaten path kind of thing.
Pay the extra money. Book the private one, and it is like bang for your buck.
Or do like a cooking class. Cook with a local. I haven't either, but I kind of want to. Because I know chefs in the US that do that. Like on Airbnb now, they've started looking for chefs to give cooking classes on their platform. And I know some really good chefs who do it here. So why wouldn't I be able to find a good chef, you know, doing it somewhere else? And even if not, like if it's somebody's mom, that's even better. Like I'd rather learn the local food from somebody's mother cooking in another town.
And I don't know like why in my head I'm like, oh, I don't want to do like a cooking class. Where like in my head somebody's like, hey, you want to come stage? I'm like, yeah. Like you
Absolutely.
know what I mean? Like I'm traveling to my present to myself when I turned 40 was I've always wanted to go to Alaska. I have a friend who lives in Juneau. My friend Bo Schuler, he's a James Beard nominated chef. He's got a great place up there. He's like, dude, come up for salmon season. We'll go salmon fishing. And I'm like, yeah, you know, like bucket list. So I booked it.
Absolutely.
But I told him, I was like, the one day I'm up there, I'm like, I want to spend a day in your kitchen. And I was like, I don't care if we do a dinner. I don't care if we, you know, if it's a thing. I go, I don't care if it's just us being like old dudes on the line, just slanging pans together. I was like, but there's something inside me where I just want to say like, yeah, I like cook tonight in Juneau, Alaska on the line. Like, that's it. Like, I just want to, and I can't explain that why I need to scratch that itch, but it's like that to me is like, yes, I will pay all this money to fly to Juneau, Alaska to cook a line cook shift there for a night.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's like, for some reason, it's like sometimes like the cooking class thing where I'm like, that's not as appealing to me.
Well, the cooking classes are funny because chefs go in and it's like, please be careful, but I need you to chop an onion. And we're like, done. What's next? You know, so the cooking classes, yes, it can be awkward, but if you just fall back and just enjoy the experience, in my mind, it would be so beautiful. And I really want to do it.
Yeah. Maybe we'll take one together. But I just
that would be fun. And I would totally stage, like give me somebody's restaurant to work in for a night too. But I feel like if doing a cooking class would be awesome because like you're learning from somebody who lives there, who probably doesn't give a fuck. They might not even be that good at cooking, but like it would just be a fun experience. Like kicking it at somebody's house is the way I see it. Like I did a fishing tour in Mexico one time and you know, we're fishing. We caught like, you know,
fish,
yellowfin, like small bonito. Yes, we caught fish. Mm-hmm. And the guy was like filleting all the fish. And I was like, can I do one of those? He was like, I don't know if you know how. I was like, let me just give it a try.
Yeah.
Steven has a video. The guy was like, what the fuck? Yeah. I was like, 1, 2, done, fillet off. Like it was so funny because he didn't expect that because he never has people on the tour who know how to fillet fish, I guess.
Right.
So
he
it was
doesn't have
so
that
unexpected.
many people on the tour who were exec sous at La Bernadette.
And so he was kind of like, well, shit, you want to do these other 20? I was like, absolutely. You start fishing, I'll start filleting.
That's awesome.
It
Like
was so
that's,
much fun.
you know, like that's the coolest stuff, right? Those
Yeah.
experiences. But that's why I think like the small tours are really good. I think you're opening me up to a cooking class. Maybe I'll take a cooking class this year. That would be really fun.
In Italy, I want to do one of those classes to learn that rare pasta, the Filindeu.
Oh, the like
super...
Sardinian one where you stretch it. It's like a hand-pulled Chinese noodle, but you dry it over a sheet tray thing. Yeah.
Yes. I want to do a class on that. Like those are the kind of classes that I really want. But I'm saying, Joe, we'll meet up, me, you, Hill, Steven, we'll all meet up in some city, you know, do some cooking classes and have a ball.
I think like a dream vacation for me would be like traveling with some chefs, either my chefs or chef friends, being in a city, eating for 3 or 4 days, and then the last day going to the markets, buying a bunch of food, and like cooking a big meal. Like I got to cook, like the one time I was in Italy, it was actually right before we went to Top Chef. I went out to Dario Cecchini's place, the famous butcher of Penzance. And so I had lunch there by myself, and I was coming back and I was staying with a friend of mine's family. So I bought a pork roast and I got to like cook it in their backyard. Like I was like in the suburbs of Florence, like just cooking in a backyard, you know, and like the dog's running around, his little sisters are running around, the grandpa's in the backyard, you know, like talking to the dog in Italian about God knows what. And it was like so special. And I'm like, I'd love to do that again. Like, I'd love to figure out how to do that again. Like, get a group of chefs, be like, we're going to go to Rome for 4 days. We're going to like eat around the city. And our last day there, like, we're each going to make one dish. We're each going to go buy one bottle of wine. We're each going to, you know what I mean? Like, just sit with each other and like talk about everything we ate and like have this beautiful experience of like, and like just for ourselves, not for like, you know what I mean? Not for the public, not for anyone, but just like, you know, like that's like a dream trip of mine too, I think, of just like, you know, getting to cook in a place where you are. It's like something I don't get to do enough, and I'd like to do more.
Yeah, especially like I'm here for work. And so I'm cooking at work. I'm visiting the markets in the morning, but it's different when you're cooking like at home. And so like I'm really lucky, you know, I'm here for 2 months. Steven's able to come for like a month and a half. And so he's going to the markets. Like I'm rushing in the morning. I have my lists. I'm seeing what I get inspiration from, but then I have to go to work. Steven's able to like take his time. He's like, oh, I got these gorgeous pork chops and like these local mushrooms and I got this and I got this. And so he's like having that experience of cooking with the local produce in France. And then I just get to eat it when I come home from work. So I'm very happy about this.
Yeah. Cause I mean, even when I can't cook in cities, I still like to buy like random things to eat. And like, you know what I mean? Be like, okay, could we like, you know, like hand food or whatever. I remember like when I went to Shanghai years ago, just, you know, when I got there, my cousin gave me like a burner cell phone that just had his address on it on Chinese. And it just was like a text message on it that basically in Chinese said like, take me back to this address.
That is genius.
So I would go out in the morning, I would go to all the markets and I would wander around and I'd buy stuff. And then I would just get in a taxi and I would just show the guy my phone and he would be like, I'm like, shishini. And then he'd take me back. It was awesome. You know what I mean? Because I'd be like, oh, I'm not going to get lost. And then I completely get lost.
Of course.
You know, and so like that was like such a cool way to explore that. I'd buy you know, dumplings or random fruit or whatever. Just bring it back and be like, oh, hey, look, I got treats.
Oh, I love it. I mean, it's summertime. Take that trip. Go to that city. Go to as many restaurants as you can. Cook food if you can, you know.
But even like domestically, you know what I mean? Go to that little city, go to those little spots, like wander around. You know what I mean? I was in Springdale, Arkansas 2 months ago, and it was like just wandering around Springdale, going for a run through Springdale. I was like, what a wild little place. Like I had breakfast by myself at this little corner spot that was hopping and it was delicious. We had lunch at a place that had a full nacho menu. It was awesome. And, you know, we had pizzas at the late night bar in town and, you know, went to Shirley's afterwards. And like, it was awesome. It was awesome. And it's a small little town with like a main street.
And that's the thing. It doesn't have to be international. Like some of my favorite cities are like those small cities. Like when I lived in Florida, some of the small cities between Tallahassee and Orlando, like Turpin Springs and these cool little places where you go swimming.
Turpin Springs.
I love it. You know, it's like the Greek fishing community, and they grill fish, and they've got like, you know, the Greek wine and just fresh vegetables, and it's such an unexpected experience to have in Florida.
There's all these like weird little spots. Like we go to Michigan City every summer. Michigan City, Indiana. It is 1 hour.
Michigan City, Indiana. You have to clarify that.
Yes, it is 1 hour from my door. You know what I mean? And I love it. The kids love it. It's their favorite trip. We went to the same house for basically the same week. And it's like we go up, we cook, we eat out. And it's like, it's awesome. It's not like crazy. It's just like, it's the best. You know, it's the beach, it's hang. And it's like, there's a couple places up there that are like weird little spots I love. Like there's these guys, it's called South Shore Oven Works, I think. And they just have a truck with a pizza oven. And they're just cranking Neapolitan pizzas out of a parking lot for a liquor store.
I want to.
And it's like, and I get like 9, you know what I mean? And it's like, you sit there and you wait because they make them. And it's like, you can't order ahead. You can't do anything. You just have to check their Instagram and see if they're cooking pizzas that day. And it's not like they're like social media mavens where it's like, you know, they're like, oh, like, you know, they're just like, we're making pizza today. You know what I mean? Like, come by until we don't have pizza. You're just like, okay, I'm going to go show up, see if they have pizza. And it's like awesome. It's really good. Neapolitan pizza. I go there every year. I love it. They're out in the sun. They're getting cooked. They don't care. They're just slanging pies. People sit around and just wait for them. And then there's a weird little, and I don't know why or how this got there, but there's a Jamaican restaurant next to the railroad tracks called Cool Runnings. And if you go there, it is mostly Jamaican people. Again, I don't know where they are coming from. I don't know why they are there. I don't know how they got there, where they're in Michigan City, Indiana, but like it's this little spot.
Yeah, I want the backstory on that.
Like I want to know so bad, but it's like I like no bullshit, AJ. I've been to this place 20 fucking times.
Oh my God. I bet the food is banging.
Banging. Banging. Like, and it's just like no frills, little, like you're like, is this place open? And then you go in and it's like a vibe and you're just like, it's like a shack, but it's fucking awesome.
Oh, hell yeah.
And it's like, and that's not international. That's railroad tracks, you know, 61 minutes from my house right now.
Yep. See, you can find amazing food in so many cities close to you. You don't even have to like fly somewhere. You can just drive a couple hours away to another city and have an amazing experience.
And just go in and try it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a pretty low bar of entry. And you know what? Like, if you don't like it, don't be a dick and go online and shit on them. Just don't go back. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Or give it another try. It's like, you know, it's like, I think we get, especially in travel, everybody goes to a city and they're like, what's the best? What's the best? Right? You know, people come to Chicago all the time and they're like, what's the best burger? What's the best pizza? What's the best? And it's like, I'm always like, yo, this is what I like. This is why I like it. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, what's the best beef? I'm like, I don't know. I like going to Al's on Taylor Street because if you go to Al's on Taylor Street in summertime, I think the beef is my favorite beef. I like it, you know, hot, dipped. And then you walk across the street to Mario's and you get an Italian ice. And I think that's a pretty quintessential Chicago summertime evening. So as far as like, it's experiential. Am I saying both of those things are the best? I don't know. But like, it's an awesome combo and it makes me super happy when I do it. So it's the best for me. But it's like people get, you know, so caught up in the best. And it's like you gotta sometimes just like enjoy it for what it is. It's not the best, but this is the thing right there. And it's cool that it's right there. And just enjoy it, you know? And that's, I think, like the biggest thing with travel is like everything's not going to be the best, but that's okay. It's about the experience.
So, Joe, speaking of travel, I do remember a story you told me a while ago about a trip you took, since you do like to cook in different cities. So why don't we take it down to walk-in confessions? And I think you should be up this week. And I want to hear something from one of your experiences cooking in another city.
I think I got one for you. So I have been fortunate to cook a lot of places, and there's no other way to describe it than, you know, getting the opportunity to cook in other places is really, really special. But right before you and I did Top Chef, I had the opportunity. I went to Italy and I was cooking in different kitchens in Italy, which was incredible. And so, I'm in all these different kitchens, and I don't really speak Italian, they don't really speak English, so they just kind of give you somebody. There was somebody in each kitchen who had spent either the most time in England or wherever, so they spoke enough English, and they'd be like, okay, you get the stage today, and they'd look at me and be like, what the fuck, but they were a good sport, and it was kind of fun. And I'd go to these different places. It was funny because whoever was my who was in charge of basically babysitting me for the day, everyone would just come up to them and ask them questions for them to ask me. You know what I mean? Whether about the States or really funny things. It was really, really, really funny things. And, I was staging in this one kitchen, and, these guys were really serious. We were in Florence. It's this restaurant. It's a great restaurant. It's called Tredici Gobi, which is the 13 Hunchbacks. So I came there for lunch service. We did lunch service. I thought it went pretty well. There's a break in between dinner, and it was really funny, because in American culture, especially in restaurants, right? If you're on time, you're late. So they tell me, they say, come back 6 o'clock. I said, okay, I'll come back 6 o'clock. So, of course, I'm there at 5:40.
Right.
Sitting, waiting.
Like a good, responsible person.
5:45, nobody's there. It's almost 6. I'm like, did I mess something up? I must be wrong. So finally, 6:40, one of the guys shows up. He's like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, oh, you told me to come back at 6. He's like, yeah, it's not even 7 yet. I'm like, so he just meant before 7. And so they were like, okay, this, what I mean? So I'm like, I felt like I lost all my goodwill from the morning. But so we go into the night service. And the funniest translation thing that happens is at one point, all these guys, they're asking all these weird questions. And then finally, one guy comes over. He's like, hey, can I ask you something? And I was like, yeah. He goes, do you watch wrestling? And I go, like Olympic, or are you talking about like John WWE? Cena wrestling?
Right.
He goes, yes, John Cena. And then when he says John Cena, this is a group of 50-year-old Albanian and Indian immigrants in this kitchen. Everybody stops and looks over at me.
Oh,
and I'm
God.
Like, why? And he goes, is it real?
Oh, did you break his heart?
And I was like, everyone is staring at me in this kitchen. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I feel like I'm reading in a classroom, and all these kids just ask me if the Easter Bunny's real. You know what I mean? And I'm like, no, it's a TV show. They're really jumping around. I had to explain it to him, and then he explains it to all the guys, and these dudes were dejected. And I was like, I'm really going down on the stage. You know what I mean? I just ruined everybody's night. And he's like, oh, all these guys didn't know. He's like, I knew, but they didn't know. I was like, no, I knew you knew, but they didn't know. So I already just broke all these guys' hearts. So I'm trying to get in there, and really my main focus is they have a pasta station there, and there's one dude working pasta, and he is everything on the station is lined up. I keep trying to get over there, and he keeps kind of I touch something, and he fixes it right away. I touch something, and he moves it right back. And I'm like, this guy's real specific. And everybody else is all close into each other. And he's over there on pasta eyelidded, nobody is going over there. So I'm like, I have to work this pasta station. I have to get in there with this guy. So I'm kind of wiggling my way in. Finally, I get over there, and I'm just I'm trying to do everything he wants so that he'll let me in. And they have this one famous dish there. It's a weird little dish, but it's a rigatoni with tomato sauce. And at the end of it, you throw in fresh mozzarella, and then you toss it really fast, and the mozzarella kind of stretches around the pasta. And then they plate it in a clear Pyrex bowl for no fucking reason whatsoever, but it's a part of it. I don't know why. It looks insane. It doesn't look good, but it's crazy delicious. It's crazy delicious. It's so good. I love it. So I'm like, all right, so finally I'm sliding in. He's let me do a pickup or two. And then it's there's a couple rigatonis he picked up, and he's kind of gives me the go ahead, you can get in there. So I'm working the pans. I'm back there. I'm just oh man. I'm this is it. It's a Friday night. We're in Florence. I'm working a pasta station. I got 2 pans going. I'm working them. The sauce is coming together nice. I'm working 2 pans at once. I'm oh yeah, these guys are so impressed. So then he goes, he grabs the cheese. I throw in the cheese. I start working it. And he's yeah, giving me the good signs. So I'm flipping it. And he's okay, basta. And I'm like, all right, pasta. Yeah, that sounds like faster. I need to go faster. So I just start like cranking it. And he's like, pasta. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're going pasta. So now I'm dripping sweat. I'm ripping 2 pans as hard as I can. He's like, pasta, like yelling. And I'm like, woo, like we're vibing, baby. Let's go. Like pasta. And then finally, like one of the servers who walked into the kitchen comes up to me. He goes, he's saying basta. It means to stop. And I was like, oh.
Shut up.
Pasta. And like everybody's looking at me, and I'm like, I just like played them out, and I'm just like, oh, pasta, scusa. And it was like I was so high. I rode so high.
And then, ooh.
And it was just like instantly so.
That's like how they felt when you told them that WWE wasn't real.
Right. I felt like it was payback. You know what I mean? But it was just like, I was like, that moment, you know, when you feel, you're like, oh, I am killing this so hard. Like they are just going to be talking of the legend of this, you know, American who came in here and rocked the pasta station on a Friday night. And I'm like, they're going to be talking about this idiot who didn't know what pasta meant.
Oh, gosh. Oh, from the highest highs to the lowest lows.
Oh, it was tough. It was tough. But then, you know.
That's hard. That's a hard one to accept. How did you spend the rest of the night after that?
After that, that was like getting close to the end of the night. And then, you know, it was one of those places. This is the wild thing. In Italy, it was like, you know, at this point, it's like you couldn't smoke in restaurants, right? But apparently in Florence, that didn't apply to kitchens.
Oh.
So like servers would come back there, they would hand in a ticket. They'd be like, so you from America? And I'm like, yeah, what is happening? Like you're just smoking a cigarette in the kitchen right now? So it's like, you know, then me and pasta guy was like, asked me for a cigarette. I was like, yeah. And so me and him stood in the pasta station and smoked a cigarette.
Well, that's good. At least he wasn't so mad at you that he didn't speak to you for the rest of the night.
No. You know, he just at least wanted one of my cigarettes. And, you know, we stood there and smoked a cigarette under the hood, and, you know, it was a great night.
That
and then,
is
you know,
awesome, Joe.
My friend's parents picked me up from work like I was in high school, and we went to an Irish pub and had a great night.
That is the most Joe walking confession that I could think of.
It's just like, you know, those moments where you think, you know, you're really cool. Then you remembered, you're like, I'm not cool. I'm a big dork. And like, I just, you know what I mean? Can't get out of my own way. And just absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Basta.
Absolutely playing myself.
Oh, that's awesome, Joe. Well, at least you had a good time and you got to work a service in Florence. You know, you'll do that in Alaska soon. And hopefully, you know, y'all are all speaking the same language.
Yeah, we'll see.
That is it for this episode of The Chef's Cut. Head to the comments to share your favorite underrated food cities. And drop a comment on YouTube or go to the Chef's Cut Pod on Instagram to join the conversation. For Joe Flamm, I'm Adrienne Cheatham, and this has been The Chef's Cut, Life Beyond the Pass.